team, given his performance and the fact that Republicans did really well down ballot, as we say. We were just talking to the senator from Montana, the sole Democrat remaining in high office in Montana, Senator Jon Tester, about the fact that the Republicans in Montana took every other major seat and expanded their majorities and took the majorities in the state house in his state. So how do you understand that?
The overarching message of this election was that people turned out to vote not just for president, but for all these other offices as well. We're looking at 160 million votes and more. We're looking at two candidates blowing past the previous record of 69.5 million votes. They're both going to be in the 70s. Joe Biden might very well hit 80 million votes in this election. That's just pretty amazing, and yet at the same time, you have to look over your shoulder and say, look at all those Republicans. And that's what the Democrats need to do. If we could bring out all of our Democrats and they could bring out all their Republicans, hey, it turns out that ends up with a divided government and a pretty closely divided verdict. Maybe that tells you what the country ultimately would like to see in terms of Washington, D.C.'s policy products.
We have lots more ahead. We hope you'll stay with us. We have our panel of NPR reporters. We have reporters in various cities watching the demonstrations in the street and the vote counting and all the activities that are going on this very historic day. We do hope you'll stay with us for our live special coverage from NPR News.
Support for KERA comes from you, our members, and from Covington's Nursery and Landscape since 1972, reminding you that fall is the best time to plant many trees and shrubs. You can explore their garden center or shop online at covingtonnursery.com. Let's grow together. The Dallas Symphony, who along with Project Unity and Dallas Black Dance Theater present a live stream Unity concert to honor lives lost to racial violence and injustice. You can stream this Wednesday evening at 7 and learn more at mydso.com.
This is member-supported public radio from North Texas, KERA 90.1. You can become a member anytime at KERA.org. We are your source for NPR News and the BBC World Service. This is 90.1, KERA, Dallas, Fort Worth, Denton. Streaming at KERA.org. KERA, go
This is special coverage from NPR News. I'm Steve Inskeep.
And I'm Michelle Martin. Joe Biden has been elected the 46th President of the United States. The Associated Press and other news organizations made the call earlier today.
The president-elect is set to make history as the oldest person to be sworn in as president January 20. His running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, has already made history as the first woman and the first woman of color to be elected vice president in the history of this nation.
Another first, President Trump is the first incumbent to run for re-election and lose since 1992, but the president has yet to concede. Today, he issued a defiant statement saying the election is far from over.
And we'll continue to cover the president, the outgoing president, as well as the president-elect. Stay with us for the latest and reaction from across the country on this historic day.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Louise Schiavone. A winner has been declared in the tumultuous 2020 contest for President of the United States. The Associated Press gives the Democratic ticket of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris 290 electoral votes so far, 20 more than the 270 required for victory. And with that, the former vice president and one-time senator from Delaware, a man who has experienced profound personal loss in his public life and in all sought the presidency 3 times, is now president-elect. Jen Rehill of member station WLVR has details on the Pennsylvania victory that pushed the Democrats over the finish line.
Former Vice President Joe Biden began and ended his presidential campaign in Pennsylvania. He opened it with a fundraiser in Philadelphia and ended it on Monday with a rally in Pittsburgh. Biden was born in Scranton. He spent his early childhood before moving to Delaware. The swing state went for President Donald Trump in 2016, but record voter registration and more than 2.6 million mail-in ballots tipped the scales in favor of the Democratic candidate. State election officials are still counting votes. They have until November 23rd to officially certify the election. For NPR News, I'm Jen Rehill in Bethlehem.
The streets of major cities are filled with celebrating Biden supporters. NPR's Daniela Cheslow has this from the nation's capital.
champagne and dance as they cheer the end of the Trump administration. In this spot that saw protests for racial justice over recent months, today people have packed the streets for a celebration. They're blowing bubbles and clapping and waving blue Biden flags. Their signs say, "Now America is great again," and "Hey Trump, you're fired." For NPR News, I'm Daniela Cheslow in Washington.
As the country absorbs the results of the presidential election, new coronavirus records are being set. The U.S. broke new infection records for the third time in the span of a week, with more than 126,000 new cases Friday. NPR's Yuki Noguchi reports.
COVID-19 is spreading extremely rapidly. This week, the U.S. set 3 new daily records, topping 126,000 new infections on Friday. In many areas, hospitals are nearing or exceeding capacity. In El Paso, officials set up emergency medical facilities to handle an overflow of patients. More than 1,000 people in the U.S. are dying of the disease every day, a rate almost certain to increase. By Thanksgiving, the total U.S. toll could reach 250,000 people. Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden has promised a more concerted federal response. Among other things, he's pledged a massive increase in testing and tracing of the disease. Yuki Noguchi, NPR News, Washington.
This is NPR. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has congratulated Joe Biden on winning the presidential election. As NPR's Jackie Northam reports, Trudeau said he would work with the U.S. to advance peace, inclusion, and economic prosperity.
Joe Biden's election win could likely be a relief for Prime Minister Trudeau. The normally steady U.S.-Canada relationship endured some bumpy patches over the past 4 years. President Trump called Trudeau very dishonest, weak, two-faced. The president slapped heavy tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel and ripped up a decades-old NAFTA trade deal. Trudeau's policies are more in line with Biden's, including fighting climate change and promoting clean energy. And there's the personal touch. 4 years ago, during a visit to Canada, then Vice President Biden told Trudeau that when his sons were growing up, they wanted to be Mounties. Jackie Northam, NPR News.
Leaders of the Arab world, from Egypt to Oman to Abu Dhabi to Jordan, are reaching out to President-elect Biden today, expressing hopes of future cooperation. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he was looking forward to working closely with the U.S. on shared priorities, quote, from climate change to trade and security. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said congratulations on a spectacular victory, with a special mention of the next Vice President, Kamala Harris, whose mother was from India. He said, quote, your success is path-breaking and a matter of immense pride for all Indian Americans. I'm Louise Schiavone, NPR News, Washington.
What do you mask on?
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the estate of Joan B. Kroc, whose bequest serves as an enduring investment in the future of public radio. And